Hey, Jeremy and Ilana. Thank you guys so much for coming on the iElevate podcast today. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. I'm Jeremy Hamburgh. I'm the founder of the Social Life 360 program at My Best Social Life. I spend all day, every day working with adults who are autistic or similarly neurodivergent, and we work on skills and strategies for finding community, making friends in a community, maybe even dating. That's my passion. I did this after 14 years as a lawyer, and I'm not going back.
I'm Ilana Hamburgh, and I am the Director of Education for Social Life 360. I spend my days alongside Jeremy, which is awesome because husband and wife pair that we get to work together, doing a lot of the same things. And I left my career as a 16-year special education teacher in New York City.
How did you guys meet?
How did we meet? So we were really introduced by a friend. One of the things that we teach our clients is that there are lots of ways to find your next friend. There are lots of ways to find your next partner. And sometimes just being out in the world and meeting people is a great way to do that. So we have mutual friends. I also met one of her friends at a wedding. And when it came time for me to re-enter the dating pool, there were people in her world and mine who said, "Hey, there's this woman who you got to meet." And I said, "Okay, who is it?" And they're like, "Well, it's this woman, Alana. She lives in New York City." And I said, "Well, I live in California. That's 3,000 miles away." And they're like, "Well, you'll make it work." So we did
Love
During
it.
COVID
during COVID.
And now the two of you are based where?
in Irvine, California.
Okay.
But our clients are all
All
across
over.
the United States. Our clients are in different parts of the world. So it's really cool that we're here in this warm weather and we're talking to clients who right now are going through
Covered in snow.
covered in snow and sub-zero temperatures in different parts of the country.
I think the digital age has made it really accessible and easy to chat with people in different places, which can be really fun. I also think there's a growing need for face-to-face community, and that's been something that we've been talking a lot at iElevate about just in the workplace and just building relationships.
A major, major focus of our program is on strategies for finding your community, or
Yeah.
what we call finding your tribe. I always knew that was important, but I don't think that I really appreciated how important that was until I moved 3,000 miles from home and settled here in California in the middle of the pandemic. I didn't have any friends here. I didn't have a community here. I was going through a divorce. And it really sort of highlighted for me how lonely life can be if you don't have a place where you feel like you're part of the fabric. We are actually right at the tail end of a 2.5 year journey to revamp the entirety of our program because we want to put more of a focus on finding your tribe. That's what we call finding community, finding your tribe, becoming part of it, and pulling friendships and more out of those communities. It's what has allowed us to really not just survive here 3,000 miles from home, because Alana's from New Jersey, but it's really allowed us to thrive here.
We followed the same steps that we teach our clients, how to become part of a community, what steps to take, because it's not like you go into a community and immediately make friends. It's a process. There's a gradual progression of how to build those one-to-one friendships within those communities. And we followed the same steps that we teach our clients to find our own people.
100%.
I think on my end, leading career coaching, when I founded iElevate, I really did it because I identified with some of the struggles associated with career development in your early 20s. That was my passion, but it's been such a humbling journey, as I'm sure you guys know, and finding each other, starting your own relationship, starting your own family while building this business. It can be a little meta sometimes, I'm sure. Can you just tell our viewers one or two things you suggest to get your ducks in a row on your own prior to going out there to try to find an intimate relationship or a significant other? How can one kind of start to prepare for that journey?
I love that you use the word preparation because I literally don't think I say that word enough. I don't stop saying that word all day long. Everything about building a social life when you have a neurodivergent mind and socializing is a struggle for you, everything is about preparation. Preparation is what allows you to bring your best self to the forefront. Not only that, it's what allows you to reduce the uncertainty
Mhm.
that is just part and parcel inherent in the social process. And that uncertainty is what causes so many people so much anxiety. So the more time you spend preparing, or at least the smarter you prepare, the better your interactions will be, the smoother they'll be, the better you'll feel about it, the calmer you'll be. I would say one of the biggest things that we talk in our program about preparing is what we call a mental library. A mental library is our fancy term for having deep questions and dynamic responses prepared for when you go out into the social world. Because it's very natural, no matter what neurology you have. I don't care if you're neurotypical, neurodivergent, I don't care. You walk into a social situation, your mind is racing. You're getting nervous. Your heart is pumping. And when that happens, it becomes harder to think of what you want to ask and what you want to say and who you want to approach. So the more you have a mental library of interesting things to talk about before you go into the social space, the easier that'll be. And so that is one of the things that we work on pretty intensively with a lot of our clients.
I just see a lot of challenge with navigating those gray areas. It's that unspoken social norm when you walk into a party or you're at work and your coworkers talking. Stuff like that can be really difficult to navigate for everybody. When I think of preparation, I also think of, am I really ready to bring myself into a relationship or into a friendship? Because I think that does require a certain level of self-awareness and healing. As we go through life, we collect traumas and stuff like that, and we bring that into our relationships with other people. How would you say, you advise your clients on dealing with past relationships that might have failed? Do you ever get any questions associated with that?
Dealing with the trauma of past relationships is really a therapeutic issue. That is something that people can and maybe even should work through with a therapist. We are big fans of therapy. I certainly went through therapy at different points in my life. The thing that I love about coaching is that for the most part, it's forward looking. It's
Mhm.
taking who you are today at this point in time and saying, what can we work on today and tomorrow so that your future is different? And so while I won't say that we ignore the past, we really leave that to the mental health professionals who are much better equipped than us at dealing with that trauma so that we can be part of that team and focus on the future.
That's a great response. Coaching is different, it's action oriented. How do you guys structure your work together? And how do you manage your relationship and your work? What are some tips you have?
Jeremy actually leads most of the coaching. We'll do some coaching together where I'll do some mock dates with clients, which is really fun. We'll do mock interviews, but he does most of the coaching. And I do a lot of just interaction with the clients leading up to them coming into the program. So I do a lot of social media marketing. So we found a good balance.
Yeah, and you've been just an integral part of the revamp of the program
Yeah.
itself. One thing that I take pride in is that as a coach, when I find something better or we find something better than what we're doing, we just change it. I've been doing this work going back to 2010. It's been a long time already. And over the course of that many years, I've learned that some of the things that we were doing in the past needed to evolve. And frankly, society evolved, not just because of the pandemic, but because of our understanding of neurodiversity. So it's been really super fun for the last 2.5 years to work with Ilana on figuring out which of our strategies needed to be tweaked and updated and which strategies we needed to add to make Social Life 360 more impactful for our clients. It's almost funny at this point, but I thought that it would take me about a month to revamp the program.
No.
2.5 years, but we're just about done.
It's really fun for me because even though I left the classroom, I'm able to bring a lot of the skills and strategies that I use in the classroom into our coaching and curriculum development.
Let me talk a little bit to some struggles I've seen with the audience that we have. Maybe we can just brainstorm together some answers to help them in real time, whoever's watching this right now. So, some of the things I've seen is a lack of understanding potentially of the phases of development in relationships and appropriate responses during phases of development. For instance, an acquaintance versus a friend versus somebody who you're starting to date, maybe interested in, and then an actual girlfriend, boyfriend? How many times a day do you call that person? How do we do a better job with working with our clients and their families and explaining that this person might be an acquaintance or professional contact? And if you want to try to develop that relationship, here's some strategies. What I see a lot are people struggling with either, hey, I don't have any friends right now, or the friends that I do have, I'm calling them all the time and I'm not really feeling like I'm moving that relationship forward, or I haven't talked to my actual friends in a really long time and I'm lonely. So do you have any
We see the exact same thing to a T. We see the exact same thing.
do you have suggestions for how to define that and move that process forward for people who are struggling right now?
Well, you identified three very different scenarios. You identified a scenario where they don't have friends, a scenario where they do have friends, but they contact them too often or try much harder to make something happen than the other people do. Or they've had friends, but they've lost contact. What do you do about that? Those are three very, very different things. And what's really amazing about the work that we get to do is we really get to know our clients on a personal level. Starting with the 90-minute consultation where our team, usually Cecile, gets together with a client and their family and gets to know them. We're spending 90 minutes really understanding, what does your life look like? What are
Right.
your goals? Where are you getting stuck in the process of reaching your goals? And then, of course, we have the conversation about, like, are we the right people to work with? After they join the program, they get handed over to me and to Ilana. And through our community calls that they join every week, through our private coaching that we have every few weeks, we really get to know, like, what's their life like? What are they trying to do? Do they have those friends? Are they calling too much? Are they not calling at all? Do they not have friends? Do they not have a community? And that's what's really cool about what we do. The strategy is different depending on who you are.
We put some guidelines or rules in place to make sure that our clients stay safe. So, for example, we have one guideline that we tell our clients to follow. It's to straight and wait. And for those people that are texting and calling over and over again, it could really edge on the side of harassment. And we want to make sure that our clients are safe. So you can contact somebody 2 times, but after that, you need to wait for a response. So
Mhm.
things like that, just to make sure that they have some guidelines for how to act in the social world.
Two straight and wait, by the way, was
Yeah.
one of our catchier things that we came up with in the last couple of years. I don't know if anyone else has used it in another context, but when we sat around and we talked about, okay, how do we keep our clients safe? We have lots of clients who ask us questions about, well, I want to hang out with so and so, and I reached out to them and they didn't reach back to me. What do I do now? Reaching out to someone once and not getting a response, that happens in the 21st century all the time. Reaching out a second time and not getting a response also happens, not really cool at that point. You reach out a third straight time, and now we're crossing into territory that, for a whole bunch of different reasons, is not territory you want to cross into. So we came up with two straight and wait. I hope that we're the ones who invented it and we didn't steal that from someone later.
Unfortunately, this happens all the time in the working world, and clients don't understand what's going on, especially in corporate or bigger businesses where maybe you apply for a job and you get the interview and then you don't hear back. And then we have a 24-hour follow-up with the 1 week follow-up and the 2 week follow-up or 3 week follow-up. And then after that, if you haven't heard back, it's, hey, maybe we need to continue to look elsewhere because at the end of the day, we are trying to foster the right fit and a supportive community. And if you're not getting a response, it's like that might be a sign that that's not
Fine.
a good fit for you. So sometimes I try to reframe things. It can be a negative experience to not hear back. We heard that term ghosted in the dating community, right? Like that's a whole new age thing with millennials. It can really be a negative experience of isolation. I really advocate for others centered thinking. So we talk a lot about others centered thinking. I'm going to put this person and that speaker ahead of myself. And how do you do that? And how do you position? When you start thinking that way, if we all thought that way, we wouldn't really leave someone hanging. We'd probably communicate. Do you have any tips for somebody who's been left hanging, how they can navigate out of that situation, or tips for like green lights? What does a green light look like in starting a relationship or trying to go deeper with a friendship?
One of the things that we developed as part of the new version of the program is a series of phases that a person goes through from the time that they meet somebody for the first time through the time they get together with them and then get together again. Because one of the questions that we hear all the time is, okay, I met so and so at an event. What
Mm,
do I do next? And when do I do it? What do I say to them and when do I say it? Now,
right.
granted, Danielle, there's no one size fits all, but
Right.
in general, right, you can map out what do you do the day that you meet someone? What do you do a couple days later? What do you do a few days before you plan to get together again? What do you do day of? What do you do afterwards? And then you end up in a communication cycle where you're building momentum from the time that you meet through the time you hang out into the next time you hang out. Then sometimes too straight and weight comes into play, right?
Yeah,
You can do everything right and they're still not responsive.
right.
And that's where protecting yourself becomes important.
We have a lot of systems thinkers out there and a lot of people that like spreadsheets and tracking things. And because I'm an occupational therapist, and I know, Ilana, you'll love this, I'm thinking out loud here. And I'm thinking that whole cycle you just talked about, at each point in the cycle, there's a response from the initiated action. And tracking a positive versus a negative response, and then sitting with yourself and saying, hey, what could I do better here next time? Or sitting with your coach, what could I do better here next time? Because I think a lot of the times we're just missing data. I had this horrible experience, I never heard back, and I don't have friends and I don't have a relationship. To be honest, everybody has had those experiences in their social life or in their career. I mean, I think it can be an awkward conversation to have, but if you actually look at it from more of a linear perspective and maybe a data-driven perspective, we could turn this whole thing that's kind of gray into something that's a black and white process that we could track with feedback at each point. Do you guys have something like that that you work with clients on?
We've been much more systemic about tracking things like how many hours did you spend in the social world? How many people did you approach for a conversation? How long was that conversation? Did it result in exchanging of phone numbers or making plans for people who are dating? Was there flirting? That's a system that we came up with. We love hearing people's systems. One of the things that I love so much about being a coach for our clients is I get to tell them, bring the data, not the drama. One of the favorite things that we get to do when we're coaching is we get to help our clients write and respond to text messages. So they'll want to text a girl, they'll want to text a guy, and we'll help them not only craft the text message, but help them understand why we're crafting it that way. Or they'll get a response from somebody and not know what to do with it. So they'll send us a screenshot of it and we'll talk about, okay, here's what we would say, here's why we would say it, here's when we would say it. I think it's pretty cool to be part of that like granular aspect of our clients' social lives.
That's what people want coaching for, too. Sometimes it's just, hey, I need somebody to talk to about the details. At least I know for me, I have my own coaches and then I coach my clients. So it's an iteration process being able to sit there and say, what do you think about this text message? I mean, now with ChatGPT, I know that people are using ChatGPT as that real-time feedback coach for emails, professional emails, as well as texting. So it'll be really interesting to see what AI does in the next few years. What do you guys have on the agenda for My Best Social Life this year? Any resources that you have for families? Any last thoughts on that?
We don't pretend that we're for everybody or that everybody is for us, but there really is no program anywhere in the world that teaches social strategies and skills the way that we do, with formulas and diagrams and schematics and checklists, and giving our clients an online community of our clients and graduates all across the country. There's nothing else like it, and we want to make sure that we're a good fit for people and people are a good fit for us. So we have a wonderful coach on staff. Her name is Cecile. She's actually a late diagnosed autistic woman herself. She will spend 90 minutes at no charge with a family to get to know them, get to know what their son or daughter's social goals are, dating goals, friendship goals, where they're getting stuck in the process. And then if everyone feels like we're a good fit for each other, Cecile goes through everything that they need to know about the program and about becoming part of the program. So, the best way to schedule that would be either emailing me, jeremy@mybestsociallife.com, or we have a link. For parents, it's mybestsociallife.com/apply. And if you're autistic or neurodivergent and you're the one scheduling it, it's mybestsociallife.com/free session. Someone on our team will spend 90 minutes really getting to know you and seeing if we're a good fit for each other.
And chances are, if you email Jeremy, you'll probably hear from me.
That's
So
true.
we work side by
Guys,
side.
guys work side by side, desks right up next to each other, or do you have two separate offices in your house?
We do not have two separate offices. That
We
would be
have we
nice.
have a 6 foot wide desk
That my dad built us.
that her dad built. And so sometimes we're side by side. Sometimes Ilana is right behind me.
We spend a lot of time together.
I love it. I may end up signing myself up for your coaching program as of
Come on board.
2025.
Any day.
Um,
It's super fun. We have the
It's
best
an
community.
awesome community.
Yeah, I just love it so much. Really just cracking the door wide open on a lot of things people just don't talk about. Whether you're 20 or 45, we've all had relationship challenges and friendship challenges, and part of life is conflict and managing conflict and overcoming it and building deeper, meaningful relationships for a happier, successful life. So you guys are just absolute rock stars. Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm so excited to see you guys soon.
Awesome.
Thanks for
Thanks a
having us.
million. Yeah, thanks.